I'm Adam Collins, and with me is the man who has written the book which has won the Cricket Writers Club Book of the Year 2022, Who Only Cricket Know, Hutton's Men in the West Indies, 1953-54. And of course, it's none other than David Woodhouse. You've won just about every award there is to win with this book over the last 8 or 9 months, David. Congratulations. How does it feel to win the CWC gong as well?
Well, thank you very much, Adam. It's obviously a great thrill for a number of reasons. It's a cliche that I think is trotted out at PFA Player of the Year awards, but it genuinely is a tremendous thrill to be recognised by my peers. And I was a reader of The Independent in my youth, so Derek Hodgson is a person who means a lot to me, as indeed does Martin Johnson, who I think the club recently commemorated in a plaque at Grace Road. I thought it was a tremendously strong shortlist. We might come on to talk about some of those books in the next few minutes. And of course, as you've alluded to actually sort of manage to do a clean sweep of the major cricket awards is a great thrill. I know your friend Jeff Lemon won 3 of them for that great book, Steve Smith's Men, but it obviously needs the stars to align for 4 panels of judges to all like the book. So obviously I'm thrilled.
Look, so the premise is you've written the book about what's been described as the second most controversial MCC trip away from home in 53-54 in the Caribbean. Just to go backwards a wee bit, what inspires you to get your teeth into this topic? Because I think, like, from an abstract perspective, most cricket people knew a bit went on in 53-54.
Yeah.
But to go that deep, it requires, I suppose, a big decision to be made from a writer's perspective.
Yeah, as so often in life, it was a sort of serendipitous thing. I was actually, many years ago, writing another book, co-writing another book with John Lee called Cricket Lexicon. I was looking for Yorkshire cricket expressions. So I read Len Hutton's last memoir. There weren't many Yorkshire expressions in it because it was ghosted by a southerner, but it did have this remarkably dry account of this tour, which obviously I think many people in cricket know about. But yes, I think I'd agree with, I think, what you're implying, that it's called the second most controversial. I actually wonder whether it is actually the most controversial because it has all the elements of bodyline. You know, it has intimidation of batsmen by bouncers, it has diplomatic incidents, it has a court-martial at Lords when the team get back, and Truman, Bailey and Hutton all are sort of disciplined in various ways by MCC. But it also has these elements that I think weren't quite there in the bodyline tour, although of course Australia's growing strength as a dominion was an important factor. In that here we've got a time when the West Indian Islands, British West Indian Islands as they were called then, were moving towards independence. And also a situation in England where, you know, the sort of deferential class structure, I think, generalising that applied before the war was changing. So you've got 2 lonely pioneering journeys, I think, that the book frames. Hutton's journey through the English class barrier and Frank Worrell's journey through the Caribbean colour bar.
Yeah, well, I mean, the very fact that it's the first tour where a professional in Hotten is leading it, and there are a number of firsts here, aren't there? First time where they fly by plane and they're not going by boat to that part of the world. It's the tour where Sobers makes his test debut. The first time Fred Truman's away from home as well. So there's the political intersection with cricket, which you explore in great depth, and I suppose the title of the book, bit of a homage to CLR James through there too, and how important that particular work of literature was, cricket literature was. From on the field itself, there's the controversy, but there's the brilliance too.
Yeah, I mean, one should say that the cricket itself was remarkable series. You've alluded to Sobers making his debut as a 17-year-old. He became the youngest person to take a wicket in Test cricket at that time. But one of the other great legends of West Indian cricket, George Headley, made his last appearance in the first game at the age of 44. He was brought back from Dudley by public subscription. And you've got the 3 Ws, you've got Ramadan and Valentine, you've got Compton and Hutton, you've got Evans and Bailey, Truman and Statham, Laker and Locke. So there were great names and great characters in the series. It also happened to be, I'm giving the game away slightly, but I hope people will still read the book, in that it was a very exciting series. West Indies went 2-0 up. England looked absolutely dead and buried. And largely through the efforts of Hutton, who scored 2 monumental innings in what was then British Guyana and Jamaica, they came back to a 2-2 draw. Unprecedented for an MCC team. Obviously, Bradman, as you'll know, came back from 2-0 down against the man Dan Norcross likes to call the Quisling Gubby Allen in 36-37. But, England had never done that before. So that was exciting enough, even before we get on to all the incidents. And I think in the index, I tried to count up the major incidents in the tour, and there are about 17 of them. So on the pitch, you've got dissent by players. Obviously, we're before neutral umpires. So as so often happened, a tremendous amount of controversy involving that. You had Tony Locke no-balled for chucking. You had various temper tantrums. All of that sort of thing was going on the pitch. Complaints by both the home journalists and MCC about negative tactics employed by teams. And then off the pitch, there was a bust up in a lift in Barbados. There was a diplomatic incident in Jamaica involving the chief minister. There was an arson attack in Trinidad. And there was the first full-scale riot at a test match in the 20th century in what was then British Guyana. And not uncoincidentally, Winston Churchill's government had just placed the democratically elected leaders of that, what was a colony at the time, under house arrest, or some of them anyway. So, there couldn't have been a more febrile political background to the tour. And obviously, in fact, C.L.R. James, who you rightly say I allude to in the title, the chapter in which he makes that famous comment, what do they know of cricket, who any cricket know, is actually about all these series after the war, when England teams, MCC teams, I should say, came to the West Indies. They thought they were the victims of anti-British feeling, hostile crowds and biased umpires. But of course, the local West Indians, unless they were white planters, thought the opposite, thought that the MCC were taking a condescending attitude and still treating them like uppity natives. So that's the sort of background to the tour. And I enjoy telling the story, and I hope people will enjoy reading it.
What might be next for you? I mean, having written a book that required, it's clear the research that went into this, you must have spent years on it. To get to the end of a project like this, to have published it, to have been received so widely and so well, including this award today, do you sort of pat up and go again, or do you have to take a breather now?
Well, I'd have to check in with my wife, I think, who was and my family, who were very long suffering during the long gestation period of this book. But I may well write about cricket again. It's a game I love, but I don't think I would ever do. I think there were some great tour books that have been recently published. We might talk about the other books on the shortlist in a minute. Aaron Gupta was on the shortlist for us. A wonderful book about the 1970 India tour of England. So while I think there are some great tour books to be written, I think personally, having sat in the library and gone around interviewing people for a few years, I think I might have a long rest before I write another tour book.
Well, David Woodhouse, Wisden Book of the Year, Cricket Society MCC double, Sunday Times, and today the Cricket Writers Club honour you as the Book of the Year in 2022. I'll hold it up again. Who only cricket know, Hutton's men and the West Indies in 1953-54. Congratulations on a job magnificently well done.
Thank you very much, Adam.